Hi, how are you?
Hey, how are you, Tim?
Let me just look at you.
Timmy!
Let me just look at you. Don't say
Yes.
anything. I just want to look at you. Oh,
Yep.
I miss you so much.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, Tim.
We love you.
Tim,
Oh,
it makes
God.
us so happy to see you. I know we make you uncomfortable, but let's go. Let's go every
my
time because
God,
the audience
no.
is so happy every time this happens. Tim,
I
you,
could kiss you right in the mouth right now.
You are.
what?
God,
Do not, he yelled. Do I speak for everyone here when I say the single thing that we miss the most about the worldwide leader in sports, am I wrong about this, is the ability to talk to Tim Kurkjian every single week.
Look at that.
Everything else, a distant second.
Yeah.
Distant.
We are so grateful that we are so happy to see your face. Yes.
Oh, Timmy Kurkjian. Oh, Timmy Kurkjian. Oh,
Yes,
Timmy
Tim, it makes us that
Kurkjian.
happy. I'd be totally happy just doing this with you for 30 straight minutes where we just serenade you in song because our audience is happy to see your face, and we're grateful that every once in a while ESPN lends you to us so that you can help us with things like our Looks Like tournament, which is very depleted because we haven't
already
been
laughing.
I mean, it's terrible. Our tournament needs help. It needs your help. We need you to do a promo for it. Hashtag looks like. We need the internet to start writing stuff so that we can have you back on for March Madness to talk about lighter things. But we're happy to see you, buddy. Thank you for making the time.
well, the first one I ever heard on the looks like it's still the greatest. The Jeff Van Gundy looks like the coroner who does an autopsy while eating a ham sandwich. That's the first one I ever heard, and it still might be the best one.
Stugotz, I'm not kidding you. The face you're looking at right now from Kurkjian, one of my favorite things to do is to FaceTime him and just pelt him with Adam Silver's until his face turns like a crazy kind of red, and then I hang up and run away.
In a previous era, you only did these over the phone, so you didn't actually get to see Tim Kurkjian's face as you gave him these. So now this is like an extra window.
This is so good, though. But people shout these at you all over the place, all over America, correct? People are shouting this stuff at you?
I told you I met a guy at the Denver airport a few months ago, and he came up to me breathlessly, didn't even say hello. He just said one of my lookalikes, his lookalikes, was read on the air to me, and he said, and you laughed at it. That was the highlight, he said, of my entire life.
He's the father of three.
Like was read on the air to me, and I laughed at it because I laugh at all of them because they're incredibly funny. And I told you when I went to the White House to cover something years ago, like when the Cubs went there, that like a Secret Service guy, I'm like walking into the White House, that he just looked at me and said, Andy Reid looks like, and then ellipsis, like fill in the blank here, Don't mind if I do. They're all been on the Secret Service. It's unbelievable.
And you're like a rock star at a concert holding the microphone to the audience. Like you're doing a call and response where you actually know the rest of the Andy Reid. That's your only choice. Cause I generally go the guy running down the stairs in his red long johns because a lady of the night stole his cowboy hat, or when he like walks into Lincoln's tent to give him a very important update.
It's not just looks like. I told you I did a book signing years ago, and this guy came up to me and he looked like he was about 100, and he said, "Nice to see you, Tom," like that. So I just assumed, since he was 100, that he just got my name wrong, or he didn't know who I was or whatever. So I signed the book. We have a nice little chat, and he looks at me and he goes, "I know what your name is, by the way. I get this show." He's 100 and he gets the show. It's unbelievable.
Does Adam Silver look like E.T.'s finger?
Save that one.
Oh God, it's so bad.
It
He's
is
the
bad.
commissioner.
It is bad. He's the commissioner. You're right. Does Clint Hurdle look like a piece of gum that was chewed by Clint Hurdle?
I like Clint Hurdle.
That's not the point. That's
We know
not
you
the
do.
point. We know you're wonderful, and I like Clint Hurdle too, but he does look like a piece of gum that was chewed vigorously by Clint Hurdle.
Wait, but there was a Hurdle story, Tim. If you want to tell it, go ahead and tell it.
It's not good enough to tell. Although at the batting cage in spring training many years ago, you're just talking about guys, what'd you do in the off season? And he went to Alaska and rode sled dogs across Alaska. And he said it was like the greatest experience of his life. Major league manager with sled dogs in Alaska in feet of snow. Amazing.
Tim, how badly do you just want to be at a batting cage in spring training right now?
Look, I say it all the time. I don't care how corny it sounds. That's the best part about the job is you're in spring training. You're in a pair of shorts, even with my dinky little legs, and you're walking around. Everyone's in a good mood. You walk to the batting cage. People are happy to see you because they haven't seen you in 4 months. And everyone's in a great mood because it's spring training. People are there or watching batting practice, nothing more, and they're thrilled. So yes, Chris, this is my favorite part of the job. It always has been. Just standing at the batting cage, talking to players, managers, coaches, writers, it's the best. And I miss it tremendously.
You got one leg up on the batting cage tire, just talking to Tony La Russa.
So Mitch Williams once in spring training, he threw a pitch in batting practice. This is his first spring as a major league player. And he missed the cage entirely. He missed the cage. And the tires from the cage come up on the side of the cage, and he hit the tire on the batting cage, and the ball went flying up in the air. It was typical Mitch Williams. And then he hit a couple of guys in batting practice. And then Larry Parrish and Buddy Bell, a couple of veterans, said, we're not batting against him. Okay, we're not taking BP against him. And I asked Mitch afterwards what he thought about that. And he said, I'm okay with that. I really didn't want to kill a teammate on my first day of spring training. So Mitch is the greatest.
Tim,
That's why they call him the Wild Thing.
Right.
That's exactly right. Tim, given that you are somebody who just loves baseball in a way that's totally unreasonable, is there a handful of spring training moments where you've had your foot up on a bench with somebody, talking to somebody you admire so much that you can't believe, even though you've been in this industry a long time, and now some of these players look at you like you're their hero because you brought this sport to them? How many of the images last with you of I can't believe I get to talk to this guy about this thing?
Yeah, it's happened a lot of times. I remember in Orlando, wherever they were, Fort Myers, Harmon Killebrew walked into the dugout and came up and sat next to me. Now, I had met him before, but this is 20 years ago. And he shakes my hand and says, hi, I'm Harmon Killebrew. I just wanted to say hi to you. And I'm thinking, oh my God, Harmon Killebrew wants to say hello to me. And then we sat there for about a half an hour and talked about baseball. This is a guy I grew up watching, not in Minnesota, but where I was in Maryland. It was like the coolest thing ever. Harmon Killebrew took the time to come sit next to me. It didn't get much better than that in a spring training, sitting on a bench doing nothing, watching guys working out.
You're not someone who likes the business of the sport. You never have. You've lived long enough to see an awful lot of these stoppages. How's this one's different? I know you don't like to talk about that. This isn't your area of expertise. It's got to be unpleasant to even read about some of this stuff for you. But this work stoppage compares to how the others how?
Well, I covered the 81 strike, and there's some similarities there because now the rancor is pretty darned high. Now they're meeting today at 1:00. Let's hope the players' proposal gets us somewhere. I'm not encouraged at the moment. Let's hope something works out. I've seen angrier people than this. I mean, Marvin Miller against Ray Greeby in 1981 was just vicious. But those guys were really good at what they did, and they eventually got something done. But that was really difficult. 94 495 wasn't easy either. But I'm worried about this one, that I just wonder, are there deal makers on each side in order to get this done? Marvin Miller was going to make you pay no matter what, but he was going to get a deal done when the time came because he knew how to do that. I'm just praying, hoping that there are deal makers on each side of this dispute.
Why do you believe they're not? Is the leadership flimsy to you?
I'm not even saying that. I'm just saying that the issues are so much greater now than they were back then. There is so much money. There is so much more to deal with now than there was, say, in 81 or maybe even 94, 95. That's what worries me. And yes, maybe we just don't have enough people who have done this before. I know, closing a negotiation can be done in anything, any line of work. Marvin Miller worked U.S. Steel before he got to baseball. Then he became a baseball expert. It can be done. But I think you need to know how to close a baseball deal before you can actually do it.
Does Jimmy Johnson look like a satirical French magazine's cartoon drawing of an American?
God, that's good.
That's unbelievably good. You can shade different shades of red, and you got 7 different Americans, 7 different cartoons. Just a little darker pink.
Tim, while we were in Los Angeles last week for the Super Bowl, we drove by Dodger Stadium, and there was one guy sadly holding a sign that read, "Death to the DH." How do you feel about the change
Unbelievable.
to both leagues?
It happened.
They just snuck it in there.
It happened quietly, Tim. I can't believe that. One of the greatest sports arguments of all time in baseball, because I can't believe that happened quietly last week.
Yeah, well, it happened quietly, Dan, because it hasn't been done yet until we reach an agreement. But the fact that we've been talking about this for years, this is the one thing that I thought would come off first. And yes, I'm in favor of a universal DH, just so we have the same set of rules in each league. I just find it preposterous that we have different sets of rules in each league, and we've been playing this way since 1973. However, if I were in charge, and clearly I'm not, I would have the pitchers bat in both leagues, because I happen to love what happens when a pitcher bats. Granted, most of them stink, but when a pitcher is a really good hitting pitcher, or a lousy pitcher gets a hit off of somebody, that's a pretty good story. I mean, Madison Bumgarner has more grand slams, 2, than Derek Jeter had, 1. So Madison Bumgarner had as many grand slams as Pete Rose and Derek Jeter combined in their careers.
That's
and
great.
That's the kind of stat. Those are the kind of stupid notes that I always like, and they only come out of the fact that we have pitchers hitting.
Timmy, I want your top 3 hitting pitchers of all time.
Oh, we got to go backwards. Hold on a second. This is a tough question, although I'm sure he's got a ready-made answer. But we've got to do this with some fanfare. Would you like us to make it 5, Tim, to give you some more room to work here, or are you good with the top 3 hitting pitchers of all time in reverse order? Chris Cody has a good nominee here. Good nominee.
Chris Hammond.
Chris Hammond was a good hitting pitcher. I would not put him on there.
Hold on, we're gonna do it from the bottom up. Anybody want to take any guesses here?
Well, I don't want to ruin the list, but I feel like number 1 is an open goal. Can
you explain that to people that
don't
get
it? It's blatantly obvious.
Yes, well, Babe Ruth.
Yeah.
All right, now we obviously can't go with Babe Ruth or Shohei Ohtani, or even Rick Ankiel, because they were pitchers and hitters kind of at the same time. So I think we have to rule those guys out.
We're ruling out the best hitting pitchers of all time.
Yes, so hold on. But the distinction he's making is an important one, which he's saying pitchers who are really, really pitchers who also happen to be good hitters, not guys who could do it so well that they could be everyday
started
players.
147 games.
Back off,
Are you guys
Whittingham.
questioning Tim Kurkjian's list of top 5 hitting pitchers?
Tim Kurkjian,
knock it
I
off.
feel like it's harsh on Ruth.
We're going to do it in reverse order, and Tim makes the rules. Number 3, any other guesses, though? I'm going to put Mike Hampton in here, but let's go ahead. All right, let's just do this. Anyone have any guesses?
Tom Glavine.
Because I think he just gave you one here, but with that stat on Jeter. But go ahead. Number 3, Tim. Or do you want to do 5?
No, I'm going to do 3. And I actually thought about Mike Hampton because he had 7 homers in one season for the Rockies. That was pretty darn good.
Colorado.
I'm going to go, and this is a surprise one, but I'm going to go with Rick Rhoden only because he was a good hitter. He was a good hitter, but he was the DH one day for the Yankees in a game I covered, Orioles-Yankees 1987, and they took a pitcher, Rick Rhoden, and he was the DH that day for the Yankees, batting 7th in the order. So instead of using a hitter to be the DH, they used a pitcher to be the DH, and he hit ahead of Joel Skinner and Rafael Santana in the order. Needless to say, they were not particularly happy that they were hitting behind a pitcher. Of course, they were happier than the guys on the bench who were everyday or who were position players who didn't get to play because Rick Rhoden was the DH. He had a sacrifice fly in the second inning. And back when we used to count game-winning RBIs, he got the game-winning RBI because that was the first run that scored, and the Yankees ended up winning the game. I'm going to go with Red Ruffing #2, Hall of Fame pitcher.
Hold on a second. Hold on, Tim. Hold on. You have no idea, correct? You have no, in the library that is your head of useless baseball information, you have no idea how stupid it is that lodged in your brain is a second inning box score of Rick Rhoden in the 19 whatever.
It's what makes him a Hall of Famer, Dan.
And you're slowing him down from getting to Red Ruffing. I need to hear more about him.
But you have no idea how strange that is that you knew exactly the inning that he had a sacrifice fly.
All right. #2 is Red Ruffing, who is a Hall of Fame pitcher. And until recently, I believe he had the highest ERA of any pitcher in the Hall of Fame, 3.80. I think that's been surpassed. However, he was great with the Yankees as a hitter and with the other teams he played for. And occasionally he would bat somewhere other than 9th in the order. That's how good a hitter he was. And #1 is Wes Farrell. Okay, now Wes Farrell, his brother Rick Farrell is a Hall of Fame catcher, and we all are led to believe that Rick Farrell, the pitcher, is a better hitter than his brother, who's a Hall of Fame catcher. So years ago, I want to say 20 years ago, 15 years ago, the Red Sox won back-to-back games with walk-off home runs. So I checked the last time the Red Sox won back-to-back games with a walk-off homer, and it was in 1935, and Wes Farrell, a pitcher, hit both of the walk-off home runs. So the one day he hit a walk-off homer as a pitcher. Just think about a pitcher pitching all 9 innings, okay, being allowed to bat in the bottom of the 9th, and then hitting a walk-off homer. And the next day he hit a walk-off home run as a pinch hitter. So the last time the Red Sox did that, it was a pitcher, Wes Farrell, that hit a home run in back-to-back, walk-off homer in back-to-back games.
I love this man so much. I could do this all day.
Oh, I could too.
He could have made up.
These guy's numbers are amazing.
He could have made up all those names, but I don't care.
But not only could you do it all day, he can do it all day. He is a computer with this stuff. Madison Bumgarner doesn't crack your top 3. I haven't looked at the numbers, and I'm sure you're right because you're more discerning on all of these things than I am, and you look at the advanced metrics too. But how good does that list have to be to not have Madison Bumgarner in it? Because I got to assume he's 4th, is he not?
He's pretty high up. I mean, if you didn't know he was a pitcher and you watched him hit, you would think he was a position player. And he's big and he's strong. And yet, I love this from him. They wanted to send his bat to the Hall of Fame when he hit 2 grand slams in one season, which no pitcher has ever done. And I mean, 2 grand slams. No. They wanted to send his bat to the Hall of Fame for something that he did. And he said, no, you're not sending my bat to the Hall of Fame because I'm a pitcher, I'm not a hitter. So he wanted no part of that. I love that about Madison Bumgarner.
Does Reggie Miller look like the cartoon turtle at the front door of the public library, reminding you to return your books in 2 weeks?
Dan, I'm just going to say something that makes me look like a pedantic little twit, but anyone who's trying to teach everyone how to swing a bat exactly the same way today, which is what we're trying to do, and we're trying to teach our kids to shoot a basketball exactly the same way, here's the form you must have, and the form is good, and if you have the form, keep it up. If you have the perfect swing, do what you're told. But Reggie Miller's motion was not a good shooting motion by any means. His finish, his hands were all over the place, and they teach you not to do that. So please, for everyone teaching a kid, if there's a kid who could shoot it when he's 8 and he doesn't have perfect form, let the kid shoot it. Don't change his shooting motion. If you find a kid that's got a really good swing and he's 10 years old, let him swing the bat. We have a million guys who play in the big leagues with some weird swings. Let him do it.
Do you love basketball almost nearly as much as you love baseball?
It's a close second. I love basketball. I love to watch the best players play. I love to watch Steph Curry shoot a basketball. I used to love to watch Allen Iverson off the dribble. I've never seen anything. He has the greatest off the dribble moves that anyone has ever had. That cross left and the cross right are ridiculous. I could watch basketball most of the day. And even though I firmly believe the game was better in the mid 80s than it is today, when Larry Bird, the greatest half-court passer I've ever seen, was just dazzling people with the way the game was supposed to be played, magic on the break. Now, and I still like to watch it, but to me, it's just too spread out. There are too many three-point shooters. There's not enough offensive rebound. There's not enough people going to the rim to kick it to someone who's closer to the basket than he is. That's what I miss the most.
Oh, my God. Old white guy longing for
Right.
Bird. Oh, my God, Kurkjian.
Larry Legend.
Oh, for the love of God, Kurkjian. Come on.
All right. So I used to play basketball with a friend of mine, and after about 3 years, it was just a gym. I didn't know him other than playing basketball with him. So I finally went to him and I said, Greg, who are you and where are you from? He was a really good player. He said, I'm from French Lick, Indiana. I said, what? I said, do you know Larry Bird? He goes, of course I do. I said, have you ever played with Larry Bird? He said, of course I have. I said, well, what was that like? He said, well, it's exactly what you think it would be like. He makes everybody better on his team. He never passes it to somebody in a position where they can't succeed. And when it comes down to winning the game, he makes every shot. That's who Larry Bird is. And I don't care what you think, Dan. I would love to be in a pickup game with Larry Bird and Bill Walton. Those were the guys that I would like to most be on in a pickup game with.
I kind of need Tim's top 5 weird swings, maybe top 3. I don't want to make
Okay, let's do
hard.
it. Top 3 weirdest swings of
Yeah.
all time in baseball. We're going to go to number 3.
Hey, Finney.
Hello, Finney. Good to hear from you again.
He loved the topic. Oscar Gamble has to be in there.
No, Oscar Gamble's not going to get in there ahead of John Walkenfuss. No way. Number 3. We're going to go top 3 weirdest batting stances of all
Oh,
time.
stances or swings, Tim?
Swing. The thing about swings and stances, they're different. Cal Ripken told me this. Okay, he said it's not where you start,
It's where you finish.
it's where you finish. So most of the swings are the same. It's getting to the swing, getting to the point of contact that is most interesting. And Dan, I'm sorry, I'm going to put John Walkenfuss in there at number 3 because that was the weirdest thing I've ever seen. He had hands and feet going. He had open. It was absolutely ridiculous. And yet when he got to the ball, he knew what he was doing. I loved the Tony Batista. If you remember him, he just kept the bat right in front of him and he opened his stance so wide. He didn't messing around in winter ball one day. He just said, all right, I'm going to come up with the stupidest stance and swing I've ever seen and see how it goes. And he hit like a home run and then he stayed with it. It was the dumbest thing I've ever seen, but it worked. And again, from my childhood, number 1, I think it has to be Dick McAuliffe of the Tigers, was a really good player, went an entire season without grounding into a double play, was a very underrated player. In today's day and age, we would worship him for the times he got on base and his defense and everything else. But he had the, I can't even explain what it was. And I can't believe I'm leaving Craig Counsell out of this, because Craig Counsell is one of the funniest people in the world. And he had, of course, the high thing like this. And he looked like a guy stuck in a phone booth with a bee in there, it was awful.
That's what he looked like.
So I asked him once, I said, so what was the deal with that stance all those years? And he goes, I don't know. It worked. So I stayed with it. I said, and his kids are really good players. And he said, my kids looked at my swing and said, like, Dad, what were you doing? This is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. He goes, you're right, but it worked for me. And that's the point. If it works for you, that's all that matters.
Does Justin Herbert look like the waiter at a 5-star restaurant who maintains eye contact with your wife while taking your order? Does Jay Glazer look like a D battery?
What an excellent batch.
Does Jim Harbaugh look like the health and PE teacher who, even though it's not in the curriculum, teaches sex ed because, quote, your parents clearly don't know how it works. I mean, look at you.
Yeah. Oh, God, it's so bad.
Does Urban Meyer look like the stepdad who calls you soft for bleeding after he deliberately elbows you in the face during a basketball game in your driveway because you're winning? Does Sean McVay look like the jazzercise teacher who wears tights that are so tight you can see his misshapen testicle?
Come on. It's got to be a one seed.
Does Sean McVay look like the hype man at a Herbalife convention who gets so jacked up blood shoots out of his nose?
Oh, God.
Does Joe Burrow look like the mafia boss's son who designs a terrible line of T-shirts and everyone wears them because they're afraid dad will shoot them in the knee? Tim, thank you. We look forward to a new batch of Looks Live. We're so happy to see your face.
I love you forever.
Yes.
I love you.
Yes.
Yes. Give me a Zoom hug. Give me a hug.
Does Adam Silver?
No, I can say I'm done. Thank you so much.
Does Adam Silver look like a wisp of smoke? A tweeter writes in, y'all really had racist ass Ellie Mistal on the LeBatard show. Dan, you funny. You always talk tough with the soft ESPN executives and act like a renegade, but you're actually a fat company man. That's why nobody watches your show anymore. Stugotz a conservative at heart too, BTW.
Is that guy? How can you be a company man when you are the company?
I'm a
Well, I guess that's how.
fat company man. I am, and that is how. And also, Ellie Mistal tomorrow on the show, so I'm sure he'll be greeted very well because he hasn't even been on the show yet, and you're already yelling at me about having had him on the show.
This was just him tweeting about his appearance.
Thank you.
He's going to be on Because Miami tomorrow.
So thank you.
Is that a first for you, Dan, being yelled at for something that hasn't happened yet?
Well, called a racist or yelled at for stirring race stuff that hasn't happened yet. Before I've done it, usually, I guess you could predict it. I guess I'm predictable. I'm just a fat company, man. I've built a fat company around this ability to just traffic in that. Speaking of which, Ben Shapiro, there is a lot of power these days in playing the lane of being a professional asshole. You have mastered it, sir. But when you take Enes Kanter and try to weaponize him as a political symbol by saying he has now been run out of the NBA for the sin of saying out loud that the league is doing China's propaganda work, please, Ben Shapiro, take inventory of how bad Enes Kanter is at defense and can't guard anyone in today's evolved NBA. Before you do the gymnastics of trying to weaponize Enes freedom because you deeply care about Chinese human rights violations, you fraud.
I believe his nickname, Enes Kanter, is Can't Play Canter, because it was once caught on camera. Billy Donovan, while coaching the Oklahoma City Thunder, was caught on camera during a playoff series saying Can't Play Canter, because of how he was getting run off the floor in a playoff series.
Just a turnstile. The NBA, he was the turnstile where the NBA changed, where I would have wanted him on my team offensively. I would have. I thought he was unstoppable offensively. But the game just like sped by him on the perimeter because you can't play a lead-footed 7-footer. You can't. You're just playing right off the court now.
It's Enes Freedom. That's a fine. They changed his last name. Couple dollars.
He said Enes Freedom. He said that like
said
30 seconds ago.
Well, but Stugotz, I understand. You just want to find me from the distance because
I do.
Yes, I know. I know. How about we start finding you for every time Finney barks?
Yeah.
You should. You have to, you know what? I would owe you $100 today.
You'd bankrupt the fat company, man. You'd bankrupt the fat company because it would cost you so much every time you work from home that you, not surprisingly, don't have any control of our beloved Finney.
Have you not investigated Finney's behavior, like why he's so barky? Like he's always.
You know what? I can tell you the reason today. And Thursdays are not the day for me to stay at home because that's when the lawn people come and the leaf blower. He views that thing as some sort of weapon that's going to destroy him and all the dogs out there. And he goes after the leaf blower. That's what he does. And so my apologies. I won't do it again.
Why are there so many goddamn leaf blowers in this entire city? Like, I know you live far away from me, but do we need leaf blowers?
They've been banned in California in 2025, I think, because it's the most.
They're pointless.
Well, it's not just that. There is nothing more inefficient in a fat world than the noise that thing makes to blow a leaf. Like there has to be a quieter way to do that.
I mean, I moved from New York City to Miami thinking, finally, I'll get some peace and quiet. I'm in a much quieter part of the city. And every morning at 7:30, I hear leaf blowers. New York City is much quieter than leaf blowers at 7:30.
But it's just, I don't understand. My telephone is listening to me. And my telephone that I am addicted to, I could live somewhere with it and conquer the world with my telephone. That's how smart it is. And you can't blow a leaf without strapping a contraption over your shoulder and just foghorning the neighbors awake at 7 o'clock in the morning to blow that leaf out of your driveway.
There it is. It's terrifying. They got bandanas on too. I mean, it looks like someone's taking over your house.
And they just put like the leaf blower blows one leaf from point A to point B. Yeah. And then they just leave the leaf there. There's still a leaf.
Yeah, they just blow it
I don't
somewhere else. They
understand.
don't pick it up. It's not a vacuum cleaner.
Yeah.
It just blows it from over here to over there where the other leaf blower picks it up. The other guy next door says, no, let me blow it over here. And they just blow it 10 blocks down. And all they've done is woken up everybody in the neighborhood.
I have not considered the distinct lack of innovation in the leaf
It's
blowing industry.
unbelievable.
How have we not done better as a society?
We'll get to it in 2025 when California bans the gas-powered
Why doesn't
leaf
Musk
blower.
get on this?
Are you guys giving Finney a pass? I mean, that's very nice.
No, because you've used the landscaping thing before.
And your words mean nothing when you say, sorry about that, I'll never do it again. Like, you're supposed to be wearing a suit all week. You're not even here. Your suit's here, but you're not here.
Next week is suit week. I have brought all three of them.
All right.
I have brought them down to
Great.
the studios.
Can't wait.
And next week is suit week.
All right. Thank you, Stugotz. Appreciate that you will not do anything you say ever. You mentioned Musk. Stugotz has been playing the hits on Musk, but I'm about to win Stugotz over with something I learned this week that I did not know, and I think has a real chance because Stugotz is not enlightened and he doesn't often change his opinion when new information presents itself. But I think I've got a winning detail for you that I did not know about, that my wife told me everyone knows, and I simply did not know this. That Elon Musk in his Teslas, as he conquers the world and reportedly made $36 billion in 6 hours the other day, his car is so smart and he's so immature that his car has an actual programmed into it fart noise.
Not only is there a program fart noise, but there is an upload your own horn feature where you can make any sound, the horn on your car. So like we could, if you want, like we can start like, for example, like putting like He's That Guy MP3s out there so that someone gets angry in traffic and honks their horn. It just says, He's that guy. And you know, we can have people driving around the streets of our nation and perhaps even the world with show sounds as their horn.
My horn could be, get the fuck out of the way.
Mark yourself.
A fart noise, Stugotz. Does this win you over? Does this change your every opinion on Elon Musk?
Dan, you're assuming, like, that's nice. It's a nice feature, and I understand what you're doing here, but that's assuming the car ever gets to your house in the first place. I mean...
Lots of people drive Teslas.
Yeah, who?
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, do you know any?
I do. As a matter of fact, in Los Angeles, we had a conversation with Mike Schur. He drives a Tesla.
Shocking.
And he said that he would prefer not to drive a Tesla because of Elon Musk. And so he looked up another electric car company, maybe drive a different electric car. And that electric car was invested in by the Saudi investment fund that, you know, like that's where all their money came from. It's like, well, I guess I'll stick with Musk.
Was this an off-air
Yeah, this
conversation?
was a private
that you
conversation,
just made on
geez.
air?
I mean, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
What?
Virtue signaling Mike Schur and you teaming up to try and change the world one electric car at a time, but you can't because the Saudis are in bed with one of the companies and the other one is Elon Musk, and you got to side with the fart noise ethicist. You gotta choose. The fart noise makes him $36 billion in 6 hours. He could solve world hunger with like half a day's pay. Why do you choose him? Because the other ones bone saw people to death if they're journalists. So I'll go with the fart noise. Oh, fuck almighty.